I'm Liz Whitehead. I'm CEO of 12.5.
Hi, I'm Dr. Drina Valentine. I am the founder and CEO of Integrative Management Solution.
I'm Mike Houston. I'm the general manager of the Tacoma Park Silver Spring Food Co-op.
My name is Carolina Rodriguez, and I am the owner of Eco Verde Mates.
My name is Sam Brownell, and the business that I own and run is called Stratus Wealth Advisors.
My name is Mary Ellen Flynn. I have a law firm. The name of the law firm is Andelman and Flynn PC.
I do business in Silver Spring because I live here, and I live here because it's a community that's a lot like where I grew up, and at the same time a really diverse community that's going to introduce me and my family to a lot of different communities.
Well, I think Silver Spring has a lot of things to offer. It is a very lively city, very diverse and multicultural.
I do think that there's a good community here. The chamber is really strong, so there's a ton of businesses and business owners in the Silver Spring area, and so it makes it really fertile for somebody that wants to grow their own independent business.
I always lived in Silver Spring since I moved down to Maryland in 1985, and I really grew to like Silver Spring a lot, and we've been here since 1998.
It really is. It's a wonderful, very international community, and so a lot of the products that we carry, the people that work at the store, the people shop at the store, really cater to that international feel.
Because I live in Silver Spring, and while I knew that my business was going to start as a home-based business, I knew that Montgomery County offered a great opportunity to grow my business once I became established. Silver Spring appeared to be the perfect place for me to be able to do that.
So the biggest joy of running this business is just every single day is new. We carry over 200 local vendors, so you're getting to meet brand new entrepreneurs who are graduating from farmers markets and selling to retail for the first time.
Seeing business owners that actually use my advice and then are able to propel their businesses forward because of it.
And so to guide somebody through from, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, to I actually did it and it didn't fall apart. That's cool. That's a ton of fun.
The idea or the gratitude of being able to be my own boss, setting my own goals, growing my business through the goals that I've set, the satisfaction of supporting those business owners by using my expertise and seeing them be able to accomplish their goals.
Being able to think that I am capable as an immigrant woman, I can get whatever I think that I can get, and using all the resources that there are for entrepreneurship.
Okay, the advice I have for someone starting their own business is don't wait for permission to do what you want to do. There will be a lot of people that ask you questions that seems like it's challenging your idea, and you might get defeated before you even start. Definitely get feedback and tell people what you're doing. Don't keep it a secret, but know that you're on the right path even if it doesn't seem immediately apparent to the people around you.
Definitely talk with people who have their own businesses in that field. You really want to learn about what were their struggles, what were their hardships. Learn from other people's experience as much as you can, and then really create a business plan, create a budget. You really want to have all your ducks in a row before you open up your own business.
Truly, truly, truly start with your why. Why? Understand why you're starting your business, and make sure that why isn't because I'm good at what I do, because a lot of people are good at what they do. So understand your why, make sure that you know who your ideal client is and that your ideal client will actually want to buy your service.
I would say if you're considering starting a business in this area, absolutely do it. What I have learned from being a member of different chambers, especially the Silver Spring Chamber, is people are very willing to help you out. People will answer questions, people will forward you their business plan, people are just very giving, cooperative, sharing.
Also to be surrounded by those people who are in the same boat as you, right? We all suffer the same pains as business owners, and it's very necessary to be supported and surrounded by people who's in the same journey as you.
One of the biggest pieces of advice that I would have is find a good community, right? Something like a Chamber of Commerce is a great place to go because you can bounce ideas off of people and get that start. Start to figure out, play around in what your niche might be. It can take a while, but once you get there, you get well known in whatever that niche is. And then it's easier. It's easier to get business. People know you. They know that you're the guy that does this work or that work, and that's really cool.
The next most important piece is making sure that you have a plan for growing your business. And when you have that coupled with the passion for being successful in your business, you've already started making money.
That was great. Once again, thank you very much to one of the sponsors up there, Carlton Creatives. Walter Carlton has been a very valuable member of the Chamber for a number of years and is also responsible for the look of the Chamber in general. So he is the person that's helped us create our trademark and continues to do so as we move forward. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Stephanie Helsing, and I'm the president and CEO of the Greater Silver Spring Chamber of Commerce. That video almost made me a little teary. My children will tell you I cry at Hallmark commercials, but I just loved seeing all of those people on that screen who really do represent what Silver Spring is about, but more importantly, the majority of what the chamber membership consists of, which is who we have on the stage here and a number of you also in the audience. So that was a really well done piece, and I'm looking forward to getting that up on the website so that other people can see it too. So before we get started with our program, I do have a few thank yous that I would like to start with. First of all, I would like to acknowledge our board member, Debbie Keller, who is here with Capital Bank. She is the head of our membership committee and knows the chamber inside and out. So if any of you are looking to join because you've come to our fabulous event and you know that we're the best kid in town, you want to join, you go to talk to Debbie and she'll point you to Daniel and we'll make sure that that happens. More importantly, we actually have to say thank you to a partner that we've had for a long time. We would not be here without the partnership that we've had over almost 3 decades, Montgomery College. And so I do want to give a shout out to the entirety of the staff, Kim and your friends who helped put together the food and the drinks and helped this room get set up, because Montgomery College is our community college. This is where we do live, this is where we work, and this is where we play, and this is where some of the most educated, highly talented people in Montgomery County are coming out of. So it is a privilege for us to be a partner with them, and they are actually founding members of the chamber. So they've been here for 31 years with us. So thank you very much for that. And I would like to give them a second to talk a little bit more about why a program like this is so important for them. So it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Muhammad. That's what everybody says because he's got a lovely long last name that I'm going to try not to butcher. Dr. Muhammad Kenyumi. He's actually working right now to take the place of board member Brad Stewart, who normally takes control of the TK-PK campus. And he's in Rockville, but he's actually doing double duty for us today. So I would like Dr. Muhammad to come on up here and tell us a little bit more about Montgomery College.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Mohammad Kanamui, and I'm Dr. Stewart's counterpart at the Rockville campus. I'm happy to step in to bring greetings as Brad is on leave this semester. It is my great pleasure to welcome members of the Greater Silver Spring Chamber. their guests, and especially the owners and entrepreneurs circle to today's panel discussion on entrepreneurship. I'm an engineer, so I feel at home among this group. As we gather here, I'm reminded of how entrepreneurship is not just about starting businesses. It's about problem solving, innovation, and creating opportunities where none previously existed. It represents the spark that drives economies, transforms industries, and empowers individuals to pursue their passions with purpose. Montgomery College is the perfect venue to hold an event on entrepreneurship. Did you know that MC has its very own version of Shark Tank? It's called Raptor Tank. Raptor Tank is a student-run program sponsored with profits from the student-run McLean Business Institute Cafe. It's designed to promote student startup ideas by connecting students with mentors and judges from business community in a real-life business challenge. Additionally, we have the Hillman Entrepreneur Program, which is an educational and scholarship program that supports and develops and graduates ethical leaders who want to energize and give back to their local communities. Students complete their associate degrees at Montgomery College and their bachelor's degree at the University of Maryland, College Park, and earn a minor in technology entrepreneurship. MC also offers a variety of both credit and non-credit courses for small businesses and entrepreneurs, including offering as varied as starting your own food truck to technology transfer. You're definitely speaking our language. As the community's college, we're happy to provide the venue for your innovative and exciting program. For those who are inspired by the speakers this evening to contemplate a new economic venture, Montgomery College has the courses and incubators to help you make your passion a reality. Once again, thank you all for being here, and I look forward to a stimulating and inspiring discussion. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. That was great. You know, it's always interesting when we are holding workshops like this to kind of think about how this fits into the community as a whole. And I can say, as a parent of 3 Blair graduates, more than a majority of their friends have attended Montgomery College either through their high school program or are actually in the process of finishing degrees because they were interrupted during COVID. And so that kind of actually leads me to my next introduction. About 7 years ago, when I was actually the Director of Membership and Development at the Chamber before I became the CEO, I actually had a member join who was extremely interested in committing to the community. She really just wanted to be involved, and she also had the tenacity and the wherewithal to continue to push me so that we could do something about what are we going to do with our smaller businesses. It's a really big challenge for a membership organization to represent people like Montgomery College all the way down to consultants and single shingle folks. And so her goal was to really find a home in this chamber where we have a large amount of entrepreneurs and single shingle folks and consultants, to allow them to have the same connections that other organizations felt at different levels within that membership. And so Donathan Consulting joined the chamber in 2017. About not even a year after that, we started a conversation about how we were going to incorporate these owners and entrepreneurs. And so Donathan Consulting, run by Andrea Donathan, actually sat down with us in a conference room, and that was really the birth of what has become probably the most vibrant community that the Greater Silver Spring Chamber has today. So I'm going to give a hand for that, because I'm going to introduce Andrea to talk a little bit more about it. But it just goes to show you that you only need one person to get that ball started, right? And Andrea did not let that ball drop, and she kept it going. And this is the second of many annual entrepreneur and entrepreneur evenings and panel discussions that we're going to have. So thank you all very much for being here. We're really excited to have you guys participating. You're going to love what we have in store for you. So Andrea Donathan Consulting, thank you so much for everything. This is great.
I've got to just give a little caveat that it has not only been me, right? Stephanie actually conceived of this group before I even conceived of it and introduced the idea to me. And we have plenty of people who help put on this show tonight, and we have multiple people who help run this. So Walter Carlton is one, Brad Eisenberg, I don't know where Brad is, he's back there, and Bruce Cotting, who could not be here tonight. So it takes a community. It takes somebody with an idea, and then it takes the rest of us to join in and help each other and support to make all this happen. So thank you so much. So I'm very excited to be your moderator tonight. I'm going to rearrange here a little bit so I can sit and grab the mic. All right, so we are recording the panel event, which is why we're using the mics. I am really excited about our panel tonight. So we have an incredible diversity of life experience on this panel. Everyone here has traveled extensively or lived in other countries, so we're bringing a wide variety of experience, just life experience. It's a broad array of industries, and everybody took a different path to entrepreneurship, and you're going to hear something about that tonight. We've got people who just started their business a year ago, and people who have been in business for a very long time. So I think you're really going to enjoy this. Let me start my introductions here. I'm gonna go in order. I'm gonna flip my page around a little bit. Just we're among friends, right? So first, at the end, we're so glad that Jason could actually make it. He just drove from DuPont Circle, probably recklessly, to get here on time, and you came in just in time to be introduced. So thank you so much. Jason owns Society Restaurant and Lounge, The Angry Jerk, The Breakfast Club, and a new venture, Domain Fitness and Performance. So Jason Muscari is a pretty private guy. If you have ever tried to find information to write an intro about him, you would discover that. He's a quiet guy, but he's doing so much. He's a very, very busy guy. He was born in Guyana. He was raised here in Montgomery County. He has a degree, I believe, in psychology from George Mason, and he played college and professional basketball for several years. So that might not say entrepreneur to you, and yet he is, by all measures, definitely an entrepreneur. So when his basketball career ended, he shifted gears. In 2007, he started his restaurant, what I call his restaurant empire, with Island Flavors in Laurel. And since then, he's opened Society Restaurant and Lounge here in Silver Spring, The Angry Jerk in Silver Spring and DC, and I believe coming soon to Columbia. Is that true?
Yes, in DuPont, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Breakfast Club has just like 2 days ago announced that they're going to open a new location in Baltimore. Yeah. So, and expanding outside of the restaurant world, because I guess he's bored, right? We don't think so. He is a partner in a new venture, which is Domain Fitness and Performance in Burtonsville. So touching on the athletic side. So what really struck me as I read about Jason and learned more about him is Jason's resilience and his sense of community. We have all had times when our lives take a turn that we don't expect, or we make a choice that turns out to be a bad one. But Jason doesn't give up. He keeps going. He reminds me of my mother that way, who was also an entrepreneur, and it's very meaningful to me. So he doesn't forget his family, friends, and community as he does what he does as well, even though he is so busy, right? For example, every Thanksgiving, Society Lounge opens its restaurant to the homeless for dinner. Actually opens a restaurant. They don't take food out. They invite people in. And that is truly the spirit of the holiday to me. So that's just one example. So please welcome Jason Muscari. Next on our panel is Kim Lavone from Improbable Comedy. Kim Lavone is a social worker turned comedy producer. Again, an interesting path, right? She did her first 4 shows back in 2011 in this area, and then she left for Brazil. She honed her comedy chops there with shows during, I believe, the Rio Olympics, correct?
Also, yes.
Yes, as well as shows elsewhere. She was there for 2.5 years and did quite the thing, Comedy for Gringos. And I've lost my place. When she came back, she had been bitten by the production bug. And she committed to building Improbable Comedy here in Silver Spring, even as she returned to her full-time job in mental health. So she's also a busy lady. Improbable Comedy specializes in shows that bring new perspectives to the stage. She now puts on several shows a month locally while also holding down her day job as the Director of Clinical Services at a mental health clinic here in Silver Spring. The goal has been to transform the industry of comedy by giving the mic to hilarious comedians who have been underrepresented on stage. Her shows feature women, LGBTQ+, BIPOC, and immigrant comedians, as well as performers with disabilities. The themes of her shows are things like comedy as a second language, the mother of all comedy shows, and so on. You should definitely check out her website. Kim is a person who lives her values. We happen to be close neighbors. We go for walks. And she really believes in the power of family and community. She defines both of those terms, family and community, very generously. In fact, I think you're all now part of the family, for example. Whether she's saying hi to literally every person she sees in the neighborhood, or I can attest to that, or bring a diverse array of comedians to the stage, she intentionally brings people together and connects them to enrich all of our lives. Kim and Improbable Comedy recently received the SCORE Mentors Client of the Year Award, so I just wanted to call that one out. So please welcome Kim Levin. Next on our panel, we have Dauda Conde from M-Cube Labs. So Dauda comes from an entrepreneurial family. He saw firsthand the highs and lows that business owners experience. Inspired by his parents, he has developed an amazing expertise in seeing the possibilities for a business and making them real. Dauda is a local. He grew up in Montgomery County. He got his finance degree from Howard University. He took that practical background and applied it in his first business, promoting hundreds of nightlife events across the DMV. From there, having learned firsthand the power of marketing, he developed his current business, M-Cube Labs, which focuses on ROI-driven social media marketing combined with the use of AI automation. It's really cool stuff. If you've never talked to Dauda, you should grab him after the show. So Dauda combines imagination, a big heart, and a very practical approach to everything he does. As an example of his creativity and his ability to make things happen and his commitment to the community, I recently attended a fundraising event that he organized in July. It simultaneously promoted the restaurant where it was held. It introduced business owners like myself to content creators, and it raised money for a local nonprofit, Nourishing Bethesda. He's quite an incredible guy. So, like the rest of our panel. So please welcome Dauda Conde. Next is Liz Whitehead. Liz Whitehead is pretty intrepid, I gotta say. Having gone to college on the East Coast, she moved to the West Coast for her first job after college. Then she got a call from someone in New York City saying, "You're being offered your dream job if you can start in a week." Okay, she's living in Oregon. She's like, okay, let's do it. So she packed up and moved, and that was the beginning of her work in helping business owners see the value of getting certified as a diverse business owner and helping them make the most of that certification once they get it. From there, she worked internationally and nationally in the certification field. Not only that, she got her master's in international affairs with a focus on China, learned a little Chinese on the way, and, oh, by the way, had a couple of kids. So she also, like all of our panelists, is juggling a lot and doing it successfully. In 2017, Liz started her own business, 12.5. She wanted to start her business so that she could work directly with certified diverse business owners and help them build strategies to drive new business. Her clients include Fortune 500 companies who want to bring their supplier diversity education to the next level, small to medium-sized businesses who want to sell to those companies, and B Corps that are looking for business development trainings for their teams. In addition to 12.5, she also co-leads Diversity Masterminds, a course series that helps certified diverse business owners strategically leverage their certifications. Please welcome Liz Whitehead. And last but not least, we have Deepesh Saxena of CMIT Solutions in Silver Spring. Deepesh is a man of many talents. In his childhood, he explored a lot of things. He started out in science, then he went to the arts. Not only that, he was, when he was growing up, his grandparents lived with him, and his grandfather was a guru who taught him meditation. Who knew, right? Again, we've got some interesting paths here. He tried. So I know Deepesh pretty well, and he's told the story that as a child he did not see the value, but as an adult he looked back and really saw the value, right? How many of us have had that experience? So learning meditation did have a big impact on his life perspective, which I know we'll hear about tonight. So he did science, arts, etc. He finally settled on finance and eventually IT for a career. So he started out as a chartered accountant in India. That's kind of like a CPA in the US. He served as a senior auditor for Ernst & Young in Dubai, but soon shifted to ERP consulting in IT. Then he moved to the US and he worked in IT consulting and eventually corporate IT leadership. 1 year ago, he started his managed IT and cybersecurity business to provide IT services to small and medium businesses. So I think he's our newest entrepreneur on the panel. That all sounds really dry. Anybody who knows Deepesh, I mean, really, I was writing it all, I'm like, yes, this is all true, but it doesn't give a real flavor for the person behind the business, which is what we're trying to do tonight. Anybody who knows Deepesh knows that he takes a very mindful and spiritual approach to life and to business. For Deepesh, entrepreneurship is about freedom, and work is inseparable from life. Living in the now motivates him in his daily life. And I'm sure we'll hear a bit about that. So please welcome Deepesh Saxena. Sure. Stephanie would like to.
Yeah. Sorry, I should have done this earlier, but I know she has to run. So I did want to acknowledge one of our county council members and also the head of the Economic Development Committee. So we talk a lot, Natty Fanley Gonzalez. So thank you so much, Natalie, for coming today. We appreciate your support. That's why I was like, oh, I think we're going to finish just on time. But I also want to acknowledge that we have a representative here from Kristen Mink's office as well. So another shout out to the Silver Spring Chamber and the fabulous connections that we have. So thank you, Chris Wilhelm, her chief of staff, for being here on her behalf. So thank you, Natalie. We appreciate it.
No problem. We have a few people here who have, like, they have to pick up the kids or other things. So if you see people sneaking out partway through, that is why. Okay, well, let's dive into the actual panel, right? I want to go around first, and let's start with whoever's brave and feels like starting. And take a couple minutes to tell your story. How did you get into entrepreneurship? Who wants to go first? Go for it, Dada. Make sure the mic is on, and yep, cool.
So how I got started, it's a pretty interesting story. So my dad had a restaurant when I was about 13, and he lost it just before I turned 18. And when I turned 18, I went to Howard University. Just like most college students, you want to start partying. So I remember I was driving through 33 Patterson Fur nightclub. This promoter pulls up to me, walks up to the car. He's like, we didn't know where the front door was. We were like trying to figure it out. And he's like, you guys trying to go to the club? We're like, yeah. And he gives me like a Safeway bag with like all these passes on it that had like free before 11 on Thursday, free before this on Friday, free before this on Sunday. So I'm like, man, we're free for life, right? So for like that whole summer, I was like a fake promoter for like 3 months, just getting in free. And then one particular night, I was in the club and I ran into like 75 people I knew. And I started remembering, he's like, yeah, every time you bring someone, you get $5 or $6. I was like, that's like $500. And that was when I started taking it serious. Ended up having about 50 promoters working under me, started making contracts directly with the, directly with the clubs. And from there, I kind of like sharpened my marketing tooth. And the digital marketing thing, social media marketing came about, and that was my transition when nightlife in DC kind of slowed down. Fast forward from there, I got a couple business coaches showing me how to structure my business. And they asked me about my history. I said, I've been in restaurants, nightclubs pretty much my whole life. And he introduced me to another business coach that was a restaurant marketer for about 20 years. And he's like, look, business owners don't care about likes. You can't take likes to the bank. So he showed me how to do my first automation, and that put me into the transition to AI automation now.
Very cool. Thank you, Dodo.
I'll go. So let's see. I've been a social worker a long time, and after I'd had my third kid, I was having dinner with my husband's family, and chatting about like, what are you gonna do now? You have 3 kids, and you have you're a social worker. What do you want to do? I don't know. Blah blah blah. Who remembers anything? But at the end of that conversation, she said to me, "Well, it sounds like you want to produce a comedy show," and I was like, what are you talking about? I don't know what produce means. I don't even know what a comedy, like I had no idea. Fast forward, it was 7 years from that conversation to my first show, kids in the middle, and a lot of things happened. But I did 4 shows in Silver Spring starting in 2011. And I mean, if you do one, you're going to do 100 because they're so fun. It's so fun to produce a show. So I did the 4 shows. Then my husband got a job opportunity in Brazil. And when we moved, obviously spoke no Portuguese at the beginning, so couldn't be a social worker. But I was like, I'm going to scope out the scene. I'm going to figure out. I'm going to tell them I'm an American comedy producer, because technically I was. And, and I went and I went to see shows, and I started to produce shows and build up my understanding and capacity. So when I came back in 2016, I was like, this is going to be my serious side hustle. And I've been doing the shows ever since in and around Silver Spring. It's been an absolute ride. I'm sure we'll talk more about some of the specifics, but I'll just say, we do all these niche shows, which really harkens back to our very, very first show, which was right here at Vicino's restaurant, which is right around the corner, and also had a woman headliner, which was rare at the time. Now there are already some more, but at the time it was hard to get a woman who could really do like 45 funny minutes. So that's still like very much our brand, is putting a lot of diversity on stage and keeping it very, very local.
Yes. Let me see where I can start. So I grew up in Tacoma Park, right down the street, and my family, being from the islands, we never really ate out a lot. So we would cook for the neighborhood all the time. My friends, anytime we had any functions, everyone would come. I mean, the whole Tacoma Park, Maple Avenue would come and participate in any type of festivities we had. And we introduced them to a lot of the Caribbean dishes. So later on in life, my passion was basketball, obviously. And I had a back injury, couldn't play anymore. And I was saying to myself, like, what should I do now? And I said, I love cooking. 11 years old, I was cooking. I mean, full meals, right, from scratch. In Caribbean dishes, it requires a lot of love and spices, and you have to know what you're doing. Plus, I love people. So I said, you know what? A restaurant cooking will bring people together. So I did that. And Island Flavors was a learning lesson for me, right? And picking the wrong location, and not understanding the business fully. So I had the opportunity to be in Silver Spring, and I said, I'm going to give it one more shot. And I opened up Society Lounge, which has been there for 14 years. And I started to really understand the business. And so the opportunity during COVID, the Big Greek cafe to move down the street. And so I said, okay, well, I'll take it. They came to me, said, Jason, you're very successful. Would you want to do something? I said, you know what? I'm going to bring the same island flavor thing that didn't work, call it something else, which is the Angry Jerk. And as you can see, I have socks and everything. But so that's been for 3 years. And then maybe 6 months later, had the opportunity to do the Breakfast Club. And in my brain, I said, okay, Jason, you got 3 restaurants. Do you want to compete with each other? I said, you know what? Let me brainstorm. I'm very good at creating certain concepts. So I said, I'm going to do a brunch spot, all-day brunch, breakfast situation. Expectations had closed at the time. We had no breakfast. Breakfast Club is doing extremely well. And going on 2 years, and a lot of, and we can get more into that, the specifics later, but I had opportunity to do something in DuPont Circle, which has been open for 2 months now, and it's doing extremely well. And Columbia will be open in 2 weeks. And like she said, the gym is coming. But
That's why you're so busy.
but that's why I'm in the restaurant business, and there's a lot more to come from that.
Okay, I guess I'll go. When you asked me this, like, why did I start? I was like, well, how far back do I go? And Brad said he liked a good origin story. So I'm going to go all the way back to when I was a kid in Catholic school. And if you go to Catholic school, you're taught by, well, I was taught by nuns. And so the thing about nuns or the clergy people in the Catholic Church is that they have a calling. So, which means that God actually has talked to them and told them that this is their path. And I was terrified of having a calling. I was like, ooh, I hope I don't have to do that. But like what it also instilled in me was that I needed to live a life of service. Like that did seep through. The whole like being a nun thing didn't, but definitely I was like, I need to be of service somehow. And so fast forward, Andrea told you I was in Oregon, I moved to New York. And I was constantly looking for somewhere where I could help people. And so I was looking, right? I went right the do-gooder path to making the least money possible for an organization. And I realized, like, I was helping the organization, but I didn't feel like I was helping people. Like, it was a good organization. I stand by it. But I was like, I don't feel like I'm doing that. So moving to New York, I thought I was going to get to do that. And I was like, I did for a while, but then there was just too many people. I couldn't do what I wanted to do, which was really hands-on. And as I kept going to different dream jobs, right? No such thing. I realized I was like, no one else is seeing it this way. Like entrepreneurs need what they need, when they need it, and a way that they can action it. Like a 2-hour workshop is not going to get them through. What they need is somebody to be able to call and say, this is where I am now. What do I do next? So that's why I started my company, and I specialize in certified diverse businesses. But it all started with that 7-year-old girl terrified that God was going to talk to her.
All right, my turn. So when it comes to my story, I want to talk about 3 things before I get into my story because, frankly speaking, there's no big story. I want to talk about what's life, what's the body, and what's the mind. When it comes to life, I say life is now. So you're either living or not. Because yesterday is gone, and tomorrow is not guaranteed. So that's life. When we talk about body, I look at body as 5 bodies. We are 5 bodies here. There's the physical body that you see. There's the mental body that we have in our heads. There's an energy body that's actually driving us, making us move around. I'll come to the 4th later on. The 5th is the astral body. That's basically consciousness all across. The 4th is a transition body that's actually taking you from your energy, physical, mental, to the astral part. So that's body. Let's talk about mind. Mind is 4 parts. We have a brain that captures everything that's happening through our senses, and that becomes memory. So the second part is memory. The 3rd part is our identity. What we build from that memory, which is actually just data that we have gathered through our 5 senses. And the 4th part is actually consciousness. That's, you may call it local, you may call it universal. So that's mind. So now that I've confused you well, let's talk about my story. So when I say my and story, my is identity. So when you look at the mind, it's basically your brain and memory that adds up to be your identity. So my is the identity part of it. Story is the memory part of it. It's what you've gathered all across. So, and we have its brain, which is brilliant. It can make any story. It can put the data as you want, in any which way you want, and make up a story. So I need to make up a story for entrepreneurship.
I was going to say, are you going to make up your origin story?
And I can make up that story in any which way you want, but it's not going to be different from what Andrea told you. That's the story that what happened in my life and how I got into this. What I would talk about is a technology which incorporates all this mind, body, life, which I call as human technology. It's this thing that we see. It's actually the best technology that will ever be invented or created. There's never going to be anything better than this. So that's the technology that we need to know about, which is what really helped me or really was instrumental in entrepreneurship. So when we talk of entrepreneurship, in my mind, it's about freedom. And now freedom can be freedom from what we typically think about, freedom from my job, from my previous boss, from doing what he asked me to do. It could be freedom which is all external. But I think the real freedom that humanity as such is looking for is freedom from our minds, our mental body that I talked about. That's the biggest cage or the most complex cage that we are in. So when I was pretty much looking for entrepreneurship, it was more about that freedom. Actually, that's what drove me into or helped me into getting into entrepreneurship, is because I could free myself from that mental body. So it was a mental freedom that really helped to understand or to take on, because entrepreneurship is not easy. It's a lot of things happening together. It's a lot of engagement, as I call it, because engagement is life, because life is now. And if you're not engaged now, you cannot be engaged in the past or in the future. But typically, we are engaged in the future. We have ambitions, we have goals, which are all in the future, which you don't know are going to happen or not. The only thing you can do is now. So that engagement now is all about entrepreneurship, because if you're engaged in the now, you will do whatever it takes, which is what is expected from an entrepreneur.
Amen.
You may be marketing, you may be selling, you may be delivering, you may be doing anything. The engagement has to be 100% or even more at times. So that's my entrepreneurship
That's your
story.
origin story. Do you all see why I said my intro sounded all dry and that wasn't really giving a good picture of Deep Fish? So, thank you. No, it's good context, I think, because I think we all agree that this is one of the hardest things you can do, right? This is not the easy way to make a quick buck, is all I could say, but is also one of the most rewarding things you can do. So let's get into some questions here. Let's ask, I'm jumping around a little here. I'm gonna ask Liz, so, we all make decisions all day about everything as business owners. Some are good decisions, and in retrospect, some are maybe not such good decisions. What decision stands out to you as either the best or the worst, and why was it pivotal for you in your business?
I love this question, because I think that the worst decision you can make is not to make a decision, is to know you need to do something and waffle. And as an entrepreneur, that's one of the things. My husband and my kids say I'm often wrong, but I'm never doubtful. So you just charge ahead and make a decision. The key is recognizing that decision was a bad one quickly. Right? Like, okay, I made a decision. I made the decision fast. It's not a good decision. I need to recognize that fast. And so I think if I can think of an example, when I started out, I didn't know Dauda, and I was like, okay, I'm going to buy this really expensive automation for my company that's going to send out all my emails. Like, I'm basically never even going to have to talk to people. I'm just going to send these emails out, and people are going to just I'm just going to be picking up orders on the phone. It's going to be great, right? And so I bought it. It was expensive. I didn't use it correctly. There's probably nothing wrong with the technology. The problem was the user, but but I realized it pretty quick. And then I called Nicole Krug, who a lot of us know.
Co-founded this group.
Who co-founded
Kudos to
this
her.
group. And she said, you bought the Corvette before you knew how to drive. And I was like, you're absolutely right. How do I get out of this contract? And, they make it difficult, but I got out of the contract and then I hired Nicole, which was a much better fit for my business. What they were selling me was stuff that I wanted, but I couldn't, right? Like I wasn't taking my own medicine of like, I need something I can use in a way that I can use it when I need it. So I would say that. I would say it wasn't a terrible decision, didn't have a huge impact on my company, but what it taught me was like, it's okay, you can make a bad decision. Just recognize that quickly. Don't hang in on a bad decision too long.
Yeah, that is great. Does that resonate with anybody else on the panel? Absolutely. Yeah? Grab a mic.
I call
it. Come on, you got to tell the story now.
I just call it, you talked about making a good decision, right? Yep. I look at it the other way around, make a decision good.
Yeah, shift it. I like that. I like that. Come on, Jason.
What bad decision did I make? So many of them.
We all have. Let me just say.
Can I share one while you're thinking?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just say our first show that we did, I said it was a Vicino's restaurant. And I went, I was really looking for venues. There still are not a ton of venues, for like a mid-sized comedy show. But I went and I said, I've got this great idea. I'm going to bring a lot of people. I knew I would bring a lot of people. I was confident about that. I knew a lot of people. I was talking it up. And I was really confident about the comedians. And we show up at the venue. He's super nice. He's like, you can do it downstairs. I was like, I'm not just going to bring 55 people. I'm going to bring 55 people twice. He was like, okay, all good. But I think he just didn't believe me. Maybe nobody believed me. But we did indeed have 110 people in like an hour and a half. And of course, they were all like wanted to be supportive. So they all wanted to order a full meal and a drink and whatever. And at a certain point, they just stopped coming down. They stopped bringing food down.
They ran out of food, right?
They ran out of food. They stopped bringing the wine down. Comedy, amazing. Venue, I think they were overwhelmed. So it was a lesson for me in like really believing in myself. Like if I think I'm going to pack a room, everybody has to be on board with that room being packed and with all, all the things have to happen correctly, but at least the comedy, great. Not the other part, so.
Okay, now I remember one. So when I first opened up Society, I just thought I was a machine. So I would answer the phone, I would try to book events, I would do a whole bunch of stuff. And then it started to get overwhelming. And I remember start seeing bad reviews just everywhere. And not responding to, someone wanted to do a birthday party or they just wanted to book a party of 5. It was coming from so many different places, just people just calling. And I'm a very popular guy in this neighborhood. So I would be answering the phone, I would be meeting people, and I couldn't juggle it. So I realized that I had to put someone in that position to make sure that things went smoother. So that's my bad decision.
Yeah. And again, like Deepesh said, you kind of shifted it, right? You're like, okay, how do we solve this?
How do I solve this?
We don't give up, we solve it.
Yeah, you don't give up, you solve it. And obviously things got better and it was smoother.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that story because it talks about something that I think we're also all familiar with, which is learning to be an entrepreneur, because you can't really learn it until you're in it, right? You can take all the classes you want, but until you're really in it. So I wanted to ask Kim this question. We all get a lot of help from friends and colleagues. We take classes, we do all kinds of stuff like that, and yet we still don't know important things when the situation arises. Kim, what do you wish you had learned earlier in the game?
I thought about this when you mentioned this idea of what I'd learned, and I was thinking of something that I've thought a lot about in the last year, which is, I think when you start a business, certainly I was like this when I started, I thought, I just have to find as many ticket buyers. That's my customers. I have to find them and make them happy, and those are my customers, and I have to provide great customer service. And I love that. I love making people feel welcome. I want them to come in. I want them to be like relaxed and feel welcome. And I think as I've grown this business, which is my goal, is to grow it, of course, much bigger than me. I've realized that my venues are my customers, and my vendors are my customers, and the people that sell me cups are my customers. And we have this festival coming up next March, and like my sponsors, those are my customers. And I want everyone to feel good and be happy that they are working with us. And all of that customer service isn't just my ticket buyer, it's like all the people. And I think thinking of it that way makes it actually a lot easier to fill the room, because then I have all these people who are happy to work with us and happy to spread the word. So I would say that's been a learning point for me.
Yeah, I love that. It's the power of bringing people together to help the whole thing happen, right?
Yeah.
Does that resonate with others? Everyone's like, yeah. Any stories you want to tell? I made Jason tell his. Somebody else can tackle this one.
I mean, I could talk about things I would have, or things I wish I knew in the beginning.
Yeah.
So when I was transitioning from nightlife into digital marketing, I literally would go up to businesses and be like, I used to pack out this club, so I could probably do the same thing for your barbershop. And they were like,
it's all the same.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, nah, I don't think it works like that. So I spun my wheels for a long time, and I finally decided, back to the first question, to get a business coach. And to piggyback off of that, the word decide, I don't know the full definition, but it means to kill all other decisions, right? Like suicide. So I just needed to make a decision. I made a decision to get that coach. And if I had done that like 3-4 years earlier, I'd probably be in a better place than I am now. Mm-hmm. So, that's probably my big takeaway from what I could have learned or did differently in the beginning.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I'm resonating a lot with these folks, so hope you all are too. That leads me into actually a question for Dipesh, because, we've all had all these life experiences that we're bringing to our business. And as you said, we're bringing our whole selves. We're bringing our personal life, we're bringing our work life. It's all leading into what happens in our business. What is one life experience you could name that has really affected how you run your business and helped it be more successful?
So I think my perspective would be more about actually understanding what is thought.
Why am I not surprised? We're going to hear some philosophy. Come on.
So, yeah, we all call it philosophy, but that's real.
It is real. It's real. Yeah.
So thought, understanding how we think and why we think and how that comes up is really important, because then you really understand yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's the only thing you can understand ever in life. Because if you understand yourself, you don't need to understand anything else.
How is that?
It becomes easier to execute, because then understanding yourself or having that life experience or knowing what thought is actually gets you in the present, in the now. Mm-hmm. Unless you don't know what thought is, you are never going to be in the now, because we're all used to living in the past. If you look at what I am or what we are as a person, this is all past. It's gone. My thought was there sometime. It's still in my head, but it's past. There's nothing new about it. All we can do is live in the present now. And if we can understand thought, you would live in the present. And that experience would actually engage you into everything that's happening.
Can you give an example?
Because
help me.
So when you are in this moment, you are not thinking of anything else. You have no fears, because past is all fear. You have nothing about that. So you're focusing on what you're doing. Right now, I'm talking here. I don't care what's happening anywhere else. I don't even remember what I said earlier. I'm sorry about that. But this is what we're talking about, right? This is where we have to be. And that is what would get you engaged into the present. So if it's a customer, if I'm dealing with a customer, right, he's got a problem, that's my life. I don't need to care about anything else. I will do whatever it takes to get that customer to solve his problem. maybe I'm doing marketing. I would do anything that's required to get the marketing message out. So that's what engagement is all about. And I think that experience for me, when you understand thought, you get to know, I talked about the mind, right? You have a brain, you have data that you're gathering from your 5 senses, which is becoming your memory. And that memory is actually only used to create an identity for you. And that identity is interfering with everything that's happening, because when you get to engage with something, it's your past thoughts that you're keeping you away from doing what is required. A lot of times, we say we are double-minded, or we say, hey, we don't do a lot of things because of the fear of missing out. But that's a fear. And the fear is coming from the past, which means you're not engaged. You're not in the now.
True.
So that's how I think understanding thought is really important. And then anything that you're doing, wherever you're doing, whatever you're doing, doesn't matter. You will do it way better than all the plans that you put together, all the theories that you've implemented. You will do it much better than that, because the other part, and sorry, it'll go too long if I get into that.
I'll cut you
But
off.
the other part is going to be about the energy that you have. If your mind is busy with 20 things in your head that's related to past, you're not engaged in now. So how are you going to deliver what you're required to do? So you will not have the energy. So when you're in the now, that's the only time you have all the possible energy that you can. So that actually gets you much more better results than what you would do with a plan, because a lot of times you're just following the plan, which helps in a lot of ways. I'm not saying that's wrong, but that helps in a lot of ways. But when it comes to living or life or because those experiences matter a lot when you're executing. Because at that point, you may have checklist of 20 items that you remember and you want to check off, but when you're in that moment, how many of them are you going to remember?
Yeah.
Your life experiences are going to take over and make you do what you have to do. And that's when it matters that you're doing what you're engaged in, when you're in the now. So
That is resonating. Liz, yeah.
So I don't know if this is exactly what you were getting at, but when you were talking about identity getting in the way, I think it can happen in a couple ways for entrepreneurs. One is like the way Jason was saying it, where he's like, I'm the best person, I'm the popular person, I'm the best person to be doing this. And you probably were, but you can't be the best at everything at the same time. And so that identity of like, I can do this, I can do it the best, it's too much trouble to train someone. I think a lot of us get into that. And then on the flip side too, like being like, well, I'm the CEO, so I don't do that. Or I don't do this because I'm the boss. Like that can get you into trouble too. So I think, I don't know if that's exactly what you were saying, but that this is a problem that needs to be solved right now. Am I the person to do it, or do I need to delegate it so I can solve the next problem? So I think that's a constant struggle that we all have.
Yeah. I have a perspective on that too, because as a consultant, I know I'm not supposed to. Let me just.
You're allowed to talk.
I'm allowed to talk.
Talk, Andrea.
Please do.
So I'll make a plan, right? I've got a client, I've got a big meeting, it's really important, I really want to impress them, I have it all in the head, and I walk in the room, and the situation is not what I thought it was, right? How, everyone's nodding, right? And if I stick with my plan, now I'm like torn, like, do I stick with my plan, and I'm agonizing, like you said, all that fear, all that, they're not going to be impressed with me, I don't have a plan for this new situation, oh my gosh, and if I just let it go and be in the moment, what do they need from me right now? What can I do to help them right now? It's going to go a lot better, but it's so hard to let go of all the planning that I've done, right? Like, yeah, that's my life. Yeah.
that's thought, that's fear.
Yes. So I really appreciate your comments. So let me switch gears for a minute.
We messed up your plan.
No, not at all. Not at all. I was trying to think, can I gracefully segue to the next topic? Not really, so I'm just going to segue. Hey. So I want to direct this at Dauda. Unless Jason wants to, no. Yeah,
He's trying to be prepared.
I scared you, huh? Okay. So we've all had moments as entrepreneurs, I bet, if we're honest, where we wonder if we should just give up our business and get a regular job. You know, is this too much pain? Am I good at this? Am I good enough? Can I do this? I'm wondering, Dada, what keeps you owning a business as opposed to going to get a 9 to 5? What keeps you in this?
That's a good question. So I've actually had a job for almost as long as I've had a business, probably 3 or 4 years difference. So I've been in a situation where you're looking at your check and you like, yeah, I made more than this in my business, I'm out. Or where you had your business, like when I was in nightlife and that kind of fell off and your bank account is struggling. You're like, I gotta get a job. Or when you're doing both a job and a business. I think that if the idea comes to you that you have to ask that question, the answer is not versus or opposed, it's really and. Because you wouldn't really think about that if you didn't need the finances to get that job. I also think one thing in that perspective that most people don't talk about is passion too. Because some people actually have jobs that are stress relievers and not stress producers. Some people have jobs that saves lives. Some people have jobs that they really enjoy. It's like a family. So if you have that situation too, it's not really whether you should not do the job. I think you should do both. And if you're in that situation, I would say you need to find a business that you can incorporate what you're passionate about in the business. So you'll see a lot of people that are bartenders, they end up owning a club. You'll see people that they were in social work, they end up having a charity or a social component of it. Yeah, exactly. You know, or they were athlete and they end up having a gym. You're always gonna go back to your passion. So whether it's finances or passion, you really gotta, if that thought comes to you, you gotta do both. Don't worry about people, we like the stories, I used to go in trash cans and eat out of ramen noodles, and those are good stories, but the reality is if you look at the top 100 entrepreneurs of any modern generation, they all had jobs. Most of them had jobs. So that's the perspective I would look at it, and that's what I've learned in my journey of both having a job and running a business.
Thank you. That's really great. Anybody else have thoughts on that or comments?
Sure, I'll share. Because I do have a very full-time job, and I would say that for me, people all the time are like, I have no idea how you can do all these things. Of course, they've never met this esteemed panel that's doubly busy, but I think for me, doing these shows is incredibly creative, and that is also restorative. So that actually gives me a lot of energy. I've actually never found, there was only one time that I had a moment that I thought I might never do another comedy show. I'll just share this because I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but so we've done, when we had our 10th anniversary, we did a 3-day comedy festival. It was a big deal for us. We'd never done 3 shows in a row at the Black Box. That's also a large venue for us. So, and at the end of that 3 days, the next day, I had never experienced this of like a very low after a huge high. And it was really low. I work in mental health. I know what a low is. I was like, oh my God. And I actually sat there thinking, I think I'm not going to do any more comedy shows. And I just share that because I think there's a lot about your body, your makeup, your energy. And if you don't anticipate, I was so happy to be in a community of people who supported and reached out and kind of, I did, of course, bounce back. And I was like, oh, I love doing shows. I want to do another show. It's fun to do shows. But yeah, I think generally it's incredibly giving, this kind of side hustle, this creative endeavor. But it's very important, of course, to know where your balance is and where your limits are.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because I think we've all been through those highs and lows, and having to figure out how to keep ourselves going can be really hard. Yeah. And my personal feeling is that's the key to being a successful entrepreneur, is knowing how to manage your mindset and your mental stability as things go up and down. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah.
So let us go to Jason. So success can be defined in a lot of ways. We've heard a lot of different things that people are doing. I know all of you probably own businesses. And we all define success, maybe in terms of money for sure, right? I think everybody here has a for-profit business. But it's not just the only motivator. Because like I said, there are probably easier ways to make a lot of money if we all wanted to just make a lot of money. So, Jason, how do you define success for yourself, and how do your businesses fit into that success, whether it's personal or professional or whatever?
Success when I was playing basketball, my coach always told me, he said, Jason, success is an endless journey. Never stops. And the moment that you feel that way, then, I mean, you might as well call it quits. You see some of the most successful people in the world, they wake up every day at 5 o'clock in the morning because there's always something to achieve. And for me, just being able to wake up and do what I love is success. Mm-hmm. Being able to help my community is success. You know, I have probably 150 employees and counting, mm-hmm. right? So when I can see that I've made an impact on their lives, that makes me feel that I've done something successful. It doesn't necessarily have to come from what my gains are, is what I help someone to achieve.
Thank you. That resonates a lot. Even though I'm solo, it's like the impact that we're having is bigger than just us, right? That's one thing entrepreneurship does, I think. This gives us a wider range of impact. Does anybody else have a different perspective on that approach to success, or what you feel success is for you?
Well, one of the things you mentioned in the intro that I work with B Corp businesses, and in case you don't know what that is, it's a company that has a social mission as well as, you know, a for-profit mission. So you can be a benefit company in Maryland and a bunch of other states. And so that's like actually measuring what like the social impact is. Mm-hmm. And when I came to it, you know, I think it actually has to do with what you said before too, about kind of staying in your lane or staying with what you're passionate about. I filled out the assessment I wasn't planning on getting it. I was doing it to help a client. And I filled out the assessment and realized I got all these points for what I was already doing. I was like, I'm already looking at who do I buy from, like what is my procurement policies, all that stuff. And so I was like, well, I might as well go ahead and get this certification. And then I realized like a lot of the business owners around me, there's social impact, their social mission is baked in. Mm-hmm. Like it's baked into what they're doing. And so I think, you know, going along with what you said about if you stay with your passion, you're going to make that impact. And like, yeah, maybe later you want to quantify it and put a logo on your website saying how great you are. But like even before then, there's an impact that everyone in this room is making. And I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Those are two great perspectives on success and what motivates us, right? Anybody else want to comment?
I just have a question. Well, I wanted to share something and ask a question to the panelists. I wanted to share how much you think about your legacy, which is something that I didn't really think very much about most of my adult life. But I have now that we have this little festival, and it has kind of a little mind of its own. And I do feel like it's starting to really belong to Silver Spring, and I want it to. And I just wonder if any of the rest of you feel, either geographically or in the business area that you're in, if you are making an impact that on the businesses or the people in a bigger way than just maybe what you'd anticipated. I know I'm not a panelist. I wasn't supposed to ask that.
No. That's great. That's great. Go for it. It's a good question. It's making me think.
So, if we've made it,
Mike,
about your legacy, like what will exist, you know, beyond your day-to-day work life.
I think I've left.
Use your mic.
Sorry. I think I've left a legacy for. When I brought society to Silver Spring, it was nothing. Nothing. I mean, it was.
Silver
So
Spring was nothing,
I'm sorry.
Silver Spring was not nothing.
That comedy's coming out. But people thought I was crazy, right? Yeah. Jason, what are you doing? You need to go to DC. You know, it was no Solaire, it was no Ripley, it was nothing. And I grew up 10 minutes down the road. I went to Piney Branch. I'm sorry, I went to Tacoma Elementary. Mm-hmm. I went to Piney Branch. Went to Tacoma Junior High. I went to Blair, and I went to Montgomery College. Nice. Right? So I said I want to start with my community. This is where I grew up. And I know, again, I'm thinking I'm the popular guy, that I can bring people here. And first rooftop in this area, we have probably 4, 5 now rooftops in the area that does extremely well, and the nightlife restaurant scene has flourished since that. So I think that's the legacy that I started or helped to leave. Yeah. So, yes.
That's cool. Anybody else?
Sorry, can I take you on a tangent?
A little tangent. Go for it.
I look at legacy as a part of identity. It's something in our heads. Nobody else knows about what's going on in my head. And I can make it as important as I want for me or not. Right? So it depends on how much importance I'm giving to that. And is that driving a lot of other things? Because it should not. It shouldn't be the driver for anything else, because it's end of the day, it's all in your head. And when it comes to entrepreneurship or business or what we are doing for others, I look at it that my business is actually a service that I'm doing for others. It doesn't matter what's going on in my head. When I'm engaged with something that I'm doing or with somebody that I'm doing, that's the only person that matters. Or that activity is all that matters. My legacy is not known to anybody. Nobody really cares about my legacy. It's only in my head. So that's kind of how I look at it, because I try to bring it all back into what is the mind. And when we will see, if we start analyzing the issues that we go through in life, 99.999999999% are related to identity. If you're in any kind of a trouble, any problem, take out identity at that point. Peace will come right away.
I like that.
I wanted to say something about motivation. And I know you spoke about not thinking about the past. But for me, my past helped to motivate me in the now, right? I wouldn't say it's something that I think about often, but when I need to pick myself up, that's what I do. Because, I've made some mistakes, some big mistakes. Some of you may know of it, some of you may not. But my success, or the things that I've done after that, is what I'm most proud of, right? So I use that. I'm sorry if I get a little bit emotional, because
It's okay.
But I was on the front page of the Washington Post. Okay.
Okay, man. This stuff is not easy.
And apologize.
It's okay.
Even with my businesses, a lot of for me to be able to move to the next opportunity, a lot of the finances come from me. And what I've gained, I'll always put back into my business.
I really, I'm going to interject here, not to interrupt you, but to give you a moment.
No, I'm good. So at times it's difficult for me to get certain loans.
Mm-hmm.
be able to do these things. So, you know, sometimes I don't even know how I'm getting it done.
You're a fighter, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. So, I mean, but again, I use the mistakes I've made to motivate me to prove not only to others, because I really don't care, but to myself that, you know, your success can and your character is what matters. You know, your character.
Yes.
My character is I've always had a good heart. Always looked out for my community forever. So, you know, that's just one I wanted to say. I'm sorry, I apologize.
I really thank you for saying that. And I want to say, you know, I know these folks, but I also researched to do the intros and before this panel to be ready. And, you know, so I read all those stories. And that's why I said what stood out for me is your resilience, you know? Like, my mom also, she had a different life experience than you, but she got knocked down a lot. And what I always hold with me, sorry, I'm also emotional, is she picked herself back up. You know, she might have stayed down for a little while, it's hard, and then she picked herself back up every time. And that has carried me. And so I really admire you. You know, it's not easy. We make mistakes, and I'm not going to judge whether your mistake was a good one, bad one, whatever. You know, I'm not judging it. I'm just saying you found yourself in a position and you didn't stay down. You got back up, and you also remembered your community doing it. And I think I admire that. So thank you for sharing. You know, I have other questions and such, but I think this is a really good time to open it up to the audience for a few minutes. You've heard one of the reasons when Stephanie suggested a business peer group for business owners for the chamber, one of the reasons I really believed in that and worked so hard to make it happen is because of this. When we meet as the Owners and Entrepreneurs Circle, we are taking down that public face. And we're the people behind the business, and we're helping each other, and we're supporting each other. We understand each other. And that is an incredibly powerful thing because owning a business can be very lonely. So I just want to say that because this panel, I want to thank you for being brave enough to exemplify what our group is about, which is we're being people up here. We're not showing you the fancy face, right? And so I just want to thank the panel for that. And I want to ask all of you, whatever questions you have, many of you are business owners, you know, let's talk. Bring out we'll take a couple mics and take any questions you might have, because now's your chance to have an honest conversation with business owners. Anybody?
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, great panel. When you started, I was like, oh my God, is he going to cry too? I don't think I can take one. But thank you so much for being so vulnerable, and what a wonderful panel. I love what you said about like being in the moment and just like doing it, and everything, all your experiences lead to how you're reacting right now, and that's what matters. And that's just so brilliant how you encapsulated that. I'm not going to do like 10 minutes of what I think and then don't you think so? I'm actually going to ask you a question. I have trouble like switching off, just because we all do this because, you know, we are passionate. So how do you switch off, or do you switch off? Because I cannot. Thank you.
Anybody want to take that?
I don't think I switch off. Yeah, I think that I really enjoy what I'm doing. When I'm not doing, I'm thinking about it. When I'm not thinking about it, I'm doing it. And I think that, you know, and not to say that you don't enjoy what you're doing, that's why you want to switch off, but for me, I'm like, I really enjoy business. I love the competitiveness of it. He likes Lee.
Yes.
I like the creativity. I like meeting new people. I like, you know, traveling aspect of it, figuring things out. So I just really, it's always on for me. Yeah.
Kim?
I also do really think about it a lot. I do find myself sometimes I'm like talking to my kids and I'm like, oh, I'm not listening to my kids. I'm like thinking about a venue or a logo but I will say one really nice ritual we have in our family. So we're Jewish, we celebrate Shabbat. And every Friday night we have family dinner. And really, from like 5 on Friday to like maybe 1 on Saturday, like we're pretty careful to protect that time. From when we were married. I mean, it's been a long time, but having designated that actual time, even if my brain does sometimes think, but my body, like our actions are not, and it's a real breath of fresh air. It's a real time that it's like I reset and I settle down and I connect with, we have family dinner other times, we have other things we do, but like I just know that time comes during the week and it's like cha-chink, and then we like start again. So I think having any rituals during the week is important. That's the one that we have, but I think anything that you just start and do, if it's a gym ritual or a sit down and meditate for 3 to 10 or 12 minutes, I think those things really make a difference because it forces your body at least to engage in something, even if your mind is going elsewhere.
Thank you. Question on Liz?
This is super quick. Don't bring your phone to bed.
Yes.
Leave your phone outside of where you sleep.
I'd say I agree. I mean, there's no switching off. It's always on. But the issue is what's happening when it's on? Because that quality is what matters. Because if you're in entrepreneurship, if you're thinking of the right things, you need that much time and energy. But if you can focus and figure out what you're thinking at that time, is that quality? Is that what you really want to be doing? You can either make use of it, or what most of the earth human beings do is worry. We're all used to worrying, which is the worst use of our brains. But if that's happening, you have to go back and think of what you're thinking about that point. Like, what is your brain on at that point? Because ultimately, I'll tell you, you're not looking for switching off. You're looking for silence. Switching off is basically forcing something, whereas silence is that there's nothing there. So if you get to a stage where you stop thinking, you kill the past.
In a good way.
No, if our thought is all past, right? We are either, and we say a lot of times that I'm planning for the future, but that's projecting the past because you don't know what's in the future. We just take the past and project it, different permutation combinations, call it future, which is why 40,000, 60,000 years, the earth is where we are. So I think the quality matters, and understanding thought would help in when you want to get to silence, because that is when all your energies would come back, which is what happens in sleep, right? There is silence. There are dreams, but you don't remember. Even if you remember, that's originating from something else that's happening. So you have to be switched on if you're an entrepreneur, simple.
I don't know. I like the idea of switching off, like what Kim was saying and what Liz is saying, and I like, there's a French proverb by some famous philosopher that I don't remember that says, sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. And that sounds really fancy, but I think about that, I say that to myself because the words sound cool, but also because it's like, I did that enough today, it's time to lay it down, right? And I'll pick it back up tomorrow. I got to pick it back up tomorrow, but I need to lay it down so I can pick it back up, because if I just keep carrying it, it gets too heavy. So you just have to lay it down for a bit. And that helps me, my brain starts going in, and then I'm like, nope. I'm recharging, yeah, so that's my take. Anyway, we are Walter. I just want to have fun. Absolutely, it's a topic that means a lot.
So I'm in camp. Turn it off. I'm in a creative field, and I don't think you can be creative at a just a nonstop level all the time. I think you have to step away from things. It's like a lot of us work on computers also, so we need to step away from our screens and I think it's important, like, to get away from your email. And I think the point that I wanted to make, listening to all of you, is that somebody mentioned like the list of 20 things, right? But not all those 20 things are worthy of so much of your attention, and not worth losing sleep over. Like, some things are like, they're now problems, they're high priority. Some of them are, you know, when things are slow or whatever. You can't occupy yourself with all those things all at once. I like what Deepesh was talking about, in a way, like being in the now. That's, for me, I translated that into focus, like to really like absorb yourself into something, not try to multitask. I think multitasking is BS. You know, focus on the thing you're doing right now. And I work at home. I've been working from home for almost 18 years. I've had a lot of advice for people during COVID, like who were working from home for the first time, is you have to separate your work from your home life. Whether you're in an office elsewhere or at home, you got to close the door.
Yes.
And you have to, your brain has to regenerate. You have to think about the people you love in your life, you know, your pets.
Exactly.
Do I need gas, groceries?
The rest of your life.
Worthy of your time off.
Was there one other? Oh, we got a couple more. Okay, we're going to take these two, and then I don't want to keep people too much longer. Go ahead.
I just have a question about loneliness, because when my partner and I started our organization a few years ago, we kind of had this attitude of like, we're all in this together, and everybody, you know, all the employees were like, we're all starting this thing together. We're all on the ground floor. And then at some point, like multiple times, there's a moment when I'm like, oh, you guys, you and I are not in the same boat. Like, you're not with me. And that realization of like, there's a barrier between me and that person for that moment is like crushing. And so I'm just wondering, like, how you guys deal with some of the loneliness of leadership.
Yeah, that's a great question.
You have to join the Chamber's Owners and Entrepreneurs Circle. I mean, it seems like a planned answer, but honestly, that's what it is. You got to find community, and there's one right here for you.
It is really true.
Do the other question first?
Yeah, do you want to? We're running short of time, so I'm going to take one more question, then we're going to. And who was? It was you. Great.
Thank you. My question is for you, Jason. I'm running a small cafe, and I know how hard it is to run one because you're consumed by your customers, the things to do day in, day out. And I see that you're opening one every day. So I just want to know, are you really a Superman, or do you work with a bank? Do you work with a business coach? What's your secret? I need to know.
Truthfully, I was just really pushed to start to really develop a team. I didn't really have a team. I've been doing a lot of this stuff on my own. It's becoming overwhelming. And to piggyback on what he said, you know, as growth comes, more delegating needs to happen. And so I'm at that point. Yes, I've made it look a little easy, but it's not. It's really not. And it's at times it's a lot of sleepless nights. You know, you make mistakes, and then for me, I'm dealing with personality in my employees. You know, and sometimes I'm a parent. You know, sometimes I'm a boss. So, you know, a lot of my employees are 20, 25. You know, they're still kind of young, and you'd be surprised at things that happen. But you know, if you just stay focused on what your mission is, you'll be fine.
Thank you, Jason. I wish we could stay all night and keep asking questions of this fabulous panel. But they are going to stick around. So if you have a question and you wanted to get a little more information or talk a little more, you will have that chance in a moment. I want to introduce my friend Brad Eisenberg, who, along with Walter and Brad and me and Bruce, who's not here, but pretend he's here. Yes, he is that big. That's why I'm doing this. We run the OEC for the chamber, and Brad's going to tell us a little bit about OEC, and then we're going to turn it over to Stephanie to close us out.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to address kind of what you said, right? Because we've all said running a business is so hard, right?
Yes.
And when you're in that business and your world is that business, everything is exaggerated, right? When it's just you and your partner, that distance feels like an ocean. But the world is bigger than your business, and we can't live our entire lives in our business, right? Like, we need community. Like, that's what this room is. And I'm sure you've all been at other business events and networking events, and it doesn't feel like this, right? It feels like what it felt like 2 hours ago in that room when you're like, hey, how are you doing? Everything's great. Oh, you're busy. Great. Oh, well, right?
Yep.
That's not real. That's not real. Like this, what you heard on this stage is real, and I have not found that in any other organization or group than the Silver Spring Chamber and the Owners and Entrepreneurs Circle. So if you found value out of this discussion and you're looking for community and you're looking for a very diverse set of perspectives that are different than your own and your world and the bubble that you build out in your head, then I really encourage you to consider joining the chamber and visiting our group. We're very welcoming. If you're on the fence, visit our group. You can visit up to 2 times if you're considering joining the chamber. We typically meet on the first Thursday of every month at a local Silver Spring restaurant, and we have topic-driven conversations where we can learn from each other, share challenges, and support each other. So scan a QR code. Our schedule is on the website, or talk to any one of us who are part of the group if you're interested. So I hope you got something out of this, and we're really happy that you're here.
Thank you very much. Well, there really isn't much left for me to say except for thank you all for being here tonight. This was really fantastic. Obviously, I'm not an entrepreneur. I did not create the chamber. I inherited it. But every meeting that I attend of the OEC, and I try to go fairly regularly, I always walk away with something. There's always a nugget, even if you're not necessarily the person who's owning it and running it that way. This chamber is my responsibility, and I take it very seriously. And so I get just as much out of these meetings as people who are doing what you all are doing. And I think you're all extremely brave, because there's no way I would try to start a business ever on my own. Nope. Already knew that. I know that about myself. That's identity. Not an entrepreneur. So before we leave, because you guys stuck it out, there's a few surprises for you. Because while I thank our hosts, again, Montgomery College, I'd like to give them another round of applause. Thank you for Montgomery College. This is a really fancy schmancy setup, and we love it. So we're really, really happy to be able to kind of engage with them and, you know, help promote the entrepreneur program that they actually have. So thank you for that. The flowers that are all over the room have been donated by another founding member of the chamber, Bell Flowers. They are off of Brookville Road, and those are up for grabs. So please do not fight over them, but there's enough, I think, for almost everybody in the room to take one when you leave, so please do. And then I would also like to thank Stacy from Signorama. She's the person who produced all the lovely signs. Walter gets another shout out for a lot of the logos that you see actually in the chamber. And then lastly, Brandon Mazzillo is going to be your favorite person of the evening, because for those of you who desire, you guys get a little buntini on your way out from Nothing Bunt Cakes. And if you've never had one, it's a life-altering experience. So you definitely want to take advantage of it. So I wanted to say thank you to this panel. I'm so proud to be the president and CEO of this chamber. I love my members, genuinely. Doesn't matter what problems you throw at me, even if we don't necessarily agree on anything. I feel so connected to this community. I've been here for 27 years. I have 3 Blazers, along with Jason. And it was the best place
in the world to raise a family, and that is actually one of the reasons we are #1 by Fortune magazine, place to raise a family. The Chamber is going to milk that for the next year until they vote us in again. But I do want to thank you, all of you, really, profoundly. That was really moving and it was engaging, and I think it's really amazing when you can share your experience and your opportunity and be vulnerable. And it's so hard to do that. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for making this program probably one of the best programs we're going to have all year. So, and thank you, Andrea, and Brad, and Walter, and Bruce, who is not here, for really spearheading what is, I think, going to be probably one of our best annual events. So
Thank you so much. I think we get more out of it than it takes effort to put it on. So it's amazing. We're going to do a little photo op up here for a second, and then we are going to mingle with you all and get buntinis and such. And if anyone really sticks around to the very last, we're probably going to head over to Society and hang out a little more and just bask in the glow of the high from the event.